Welcome to the explanation page by page of the TREC 1 to 4 Family Residential Contract. This is Ann LaCusta and I'm your broker, and this is going to be a quick bullet point summary of page 4 of this contract. Let's start with paragraph 7A. Seller shall permit buyer and buyer's agents access to the property at reasonable times. It does say seller shall. It's a command sentence. Unfortunately, there's no definition given of at reasonable times. So occasionally that can cause disagreement. However, seller shall permit is very clear. The buyer can have the property inspected by inspectors selected by the buyer, licensed by TREC, and or otherwise permitted by law to make inspections. Very important that you notice right here, any hydrostatic testing must be separately authorized by the seller in writing. So any water pressure testing, hydrostatic water pressure testing, must be separately authorized by the seller in writing. Seller shall have the utilities on is a part of this paragraph. Unfortunately, occasionally HUD homes do not do this correctly, and there is no mechanism to force them to turn them on. However, if they don't turn them on, your buyer has the right to terminate the contract and get their earnest money back. Paragraph 7B is about a seller's disclosure notice. Normally, you're going to be checking 7B1 because you have received the notice. Normally, the notice is online with the MLS listing. The 7B2, the buyer has not received the notice within blank days. So in this blank, you would want to put a very few number of days after the effective date of this contract, 1 day or 2 days, because you do not want your buyer client to order an inspection prior to receiving the fully completed and signed seller's disclosure notice. There might be something in the disclosure notice that your buyer wants that inspector to check out. And then 7B3 says the seller is not required to furnish the notice. And this would be bankruptcy trustees, it would be banks and people who have assumed reclaim the property during foreclosure. It would be an estate sale with a fiduciary. It could be between spouses in divorce. It's new residences that have never been occupied for single family purposes. Who it is not. So investors frequently try to say they are not required to fill it out, and that is not truthful. They are required to fill it out. If they've never lived there, that doesn't matter. They can check unknown for those things they do not know, but actually an investor will have knowledge of the property because probably they've done inspections of some sort and they are required to fill out a seller's disclosure notice. Let's look at 7D. As is means the present condition of the property with any and all defects and without warranty. Buyer's agreement. This is a very important sentence right here. Buyer's agreement to accept the property as is under paragraph 7D1 does not preclude the buyer from inspecting the property, negotiating repairs or treatments in a subsequent amendment, or terminating this contract during the option period. So normally you're going to check 7D1. Buyer accepts the property as is. And then you're going to have your inspections and you're going to decide what are the most important repairs we want to negotiate. You're going to fill out an amendment requesting that those repairs be completed, all of that during the option period. You will very rarely, only occasionally check 7D2 if there's something that you already know the seller must repair prior to you purchasing the property. Maybe it's a roof repair, maybe it's new carpet, but honestly you don't want to put that here very often. You normally want your first offer on the property. Let's negotiate price, the best price we can get, and then go back and negotiate repairs after we've gotten the best price we can. If you start asking for repairs in this 7D2, your seller is going to negotiate a lower price with you. And then once you have inspections, there may even be additional repairs you want, and you're starting from a lower price point. So normally you're going to check 7D1 and then do your inspections and negotiate those repairs on an amendment. Paragraph 7E is about lender required repairs. It basically says that if there are repairs that would be required by the lender, neither party is obligated to pay for them. However, if neither party pays for them, the buyer has the right to terminate and take their earnest money with them. This includes wood destroying insects. If, on the other hand, there are lender required repairs that are costly, their expense is greater than 5% of the sales price. Even if the seller agrees to fix them, that large of a repair would allow the buyer to terminate and take their earnest money with them. So even if your seller says, oh no, I'll fix it, if it's a large repair costing over 5% of the sales price, the buyer can choose not to continue on and purchase the home. Let's look at paragraph F. Completion of repairs and treatments is prior to closing, and sometimes that's confusing. Sellers will think they have to hurry up and get it done during the option period, and that's not true. It's prior to closing. It is very important that your seller know all repairs and treatments must be performed by a licensed repair person if a license is required. So plumbing, electrical, sprinkler, all those have licenses required. So no, they cannot go to Home Depot and just do a honey-do repair. Once the home is under contract, it must be performed by a licensed repair person or by someone, look right here, commercially engaged in the trade of providing such repairs or treatments. So if you go to mediation about this, they're looking for someone with the name of their company on their truck. They're looking for someone with an ad in the church bulletin, not your brother, not your cousin, not your next door neighbor, but someone commercially engaged in providing such repairs. Roof repairs are a great example. There's no license required, but it must be a commercially engaged roofer. Let's look at H, which is about home warranties. Buyer may purchase a residential service contract. If buyer does so, seller shall reimburse the buyer at closing for this amount. In our multiple offer world, it is not uncommon for that blank to say 0 because the seller does not want to spend any extra money. They have several offers and you want your offer to get accepted. So the buyer can buy one if they want one, but this, as a part of this contract, says no, the seller will not reimburse, or yes, the seller will reimburse at closing. The purchase of a residential service contract is optional. And this is the end of page 4.